Hey YouTube, my name is Nick James and I'm going to be teaching you how to play guitar. This is your Guitar Questions Answered, and today I'm answering Ayo Drums' question on how to play all 12 keys through their 4 octaves on guitar. So how I would actually tackle this is, instead of thinking about it as through the 4 octaves available on guitar, play each major scale rooted on the E string, on the A string, and on the D string. So we have A up here on the E string, 5th fret, open A, and then we have on the D string, 7th fret, A. And what we get from these is a D shape down here. We get the A shape up there. And then lastly, we have our E shape. And then how you could work through the major scale is just stay on that same string and play through the whole half, whole half kind of major and minor scale. So you'd start with 1 A major, then you have B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, then we have F sharp minor, then we have G sharp, half diminished, back to A. And you could do that same thing rooted on the A string. A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp half diminished, back to the 1A. And then you could do that same thing rooted on the D string, where you're going to be using that D shape, and you start with A major again. And then this is probably going to be a little bit of a tricky fingering to play B minor. But the point of this too is that we have B here, and then we have its octave. So we're, basically using the chord shapes as our kind of structure for playing different versions of like the B minor chord in this case. So we have B minor, then we'll have C minor, or C sharp minor, and then we have D major, E major, then we have F sharp minor, and then we have G sharp half diminished. Back to A. And you can do that with every single scale available. There's 12 total notes on the guitar, so that's why there's 12 frets, and then they repeat themselves. So at this fret with the 2 dots on it, that's basically signaling that these are all the same notes as the open notes. So there's only 12 available keys to play in, and you can do this same exercise with all 12 keys, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to let you kind of take this exercise and maybe pick a random key and practice it in. You could do B flat, so B flat, C minor, D minor, E flat major, then you have F major, G minor, and then you'll have A half diminished, back to B flat. And then you could do that same thing rooted on the A string. So you could do that with every single one of the 12 keys, and it'll help you, learn every chord basically available on guitar. But Another great exercise is what's called the cycle of fourths. And I'll put the diagram here because most of us have heard of the circle of fifths, and it's actually the same chart. And the whole concept is, though, that if you go counterclockwise, you'll actually see that the fourths will lead you back to the same note eventually as well. So if you started on C and you played its fourth F, you'd find that B flat is the fourth of F, so you could go up to B flat. Then we'll have E flat. Then we'll have A flat, D flat, F sharp, and then we have B, E, A, D, G, and then we're going all the way back to C. So this exercise is great because it plays all 12 available keys, and you get to really memorize the fretboard well, because if you play each chord to its perfect fourth 12 times, you'll actually end up right back to the same chord you started on. So another great exercise, and maybe a separate video on that topic, but hopefully this helps with answering your question about playing in all 12 keys through the major scale. That's how I would approach it. I wouldn't worry about the octaves. I would just try to focus on which string you're rooted on, and then, take that same root or key that you're working through and use it on the A string and then the D string, and make sure you understand the chord shapes you're using this off of. So we have the E shape, A shape, and D shape. And hopefully that gets you somewhere, and if there's any other questions, let me know.